Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I would like to thank you all for joining us today for our chat with MSU College of Arts and Letters students, Carly Lize, Devin Heard, Alia Jones, and Abbey Clothier. My name is Jordyn Joseph, and I will be the moderator for today's discussion. A little bit about me is I'm a junior studying accounting, and I have spent the last 2 years as a professional writing major in RAC as well. I'm also a student intern for the College of Arts and Letters Development Office. Before we begin the discussion, for those of you who are new to Zoom, I would like to direct you to the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You may use the Q&A button to submit any questions you have at any point of the webinar. We will also keep track of your questions and be sure to address them to the student panelists here today. I would also like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our college's YouTube channel within the next few days for those who could not make it today, or if you'd like to watch it back at your leisure. The only faces that will be shown today and on the recorded version are those of the presenters, so you do not have to worry about your camera or microphone. I would now like to introduce our first speaker, Carly Lize. Carly, you now have the floor.
Hello, my name is Carly Lize, and I am currently a double major in English and Communications, and I am a senior here at MSU, and I'm also an intern for the Development Office here in the College of Arts and Letters. And I would like to pass it on to Abbey to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm a senior at Michigan State. My major is Humanities Pre-Law with a minor and focus in global studies. I am in Greek life on campus, and I'm also a member of the club EWIL, which is Empowering Women in Law, and I'm a student receptionist for the College of Arts and Letters. And now I'm going to pass it to Devin.
Hi everybody, my name is Devin Heard. I am a senior here at Michigan State University, majoring in Humanities Pre-Law with a minor in Leadership of Organizations. I am involved with Greek Life, a professional fraternity, Kappa Alpha Pi, and I also serve as a career peer intern for the College of Arts and Letters. I'll pass it on to Aaliyah.
Hi everyone, my name is Aaliyah. I am a senior, also a Humanities Pre-Law major with a minor in African American and African Studies. I currently work as an intern for our Citizen Scholars Program, which is an enrichment program through the College of Arts and Letters. And I also have the great honor of serving on this year's MSU Homecoming Court. So I'm going to pass it back to Jordyn, who can get us started with our questions.
Thank you all. We're going to get started with some questions that were submitted during registration. The first one is, why did you choose a major in the College of Arts and Letters? Abbey, why don't you start us off?
So I knew in high school that I was interested in law. I have a couple of criminal defense attorneys in the family. So at that point, it was either take the criminal justice track and be in the College of Social Sciences, or take the Humanities Pre-Law track and be in the College of Arts and Letters. I chose Arts and Letters because I liked how it said the humanities part, pre-law. I didn't really know what type of law I wanted to go into, so I thought it would give me a good baseline for all law. And I came from a really small high school, and so I was excited about all the humanities courses that College of Arts and Letters was able to offer me. So yeah, that's why I picked College of Arts and Letters, and I'm happy about it. I'm going to pass it to Devin. He can answer next.
Kind of piggybacking off of what Abbey said, the bottom line I would say is just flexibility. I did know that I wanted to do something related to law, but I didn't want to be so locked in that I had no other exploration. Philosophy has also been a big part of my studies here. It's part of one of my triads, as we call it. So I would just say the flexibility and the ability to have other areas of interest while still having preparation for law school. And I'll pass it on to Aaliyah.
So I also have the same major as Abbey and Devin, so I can definitely echo what they've said about I wanted to personally make sure I didn't limit myself in any capacity. And I believe, and I know that my education thus far in the College of Arts and Letters has enhanced my ability to think critically, write well, communicate effectively, all such great skills that you need in generally any profession and any career field you go into. And so that was really the main solidifying point, was knowing that I would develop skills that I could translate anywhere that I wanted to apply them. So I'm gonna pass it to Carly.
Yeah, also piggybacking off of what Aaliyah said with skills that translate to multiple different careers, I chose an English and or a major in English because I knew in high school that I really loved to write and I had a passion for it. When I first arrived at MSU, I was a major in the Residential College in Arts and Humanities. And while I was taking classes in the college, I discovered that my writing classes were my favorite classes. And so I decided to switch over to English entirely. And then I chose to also add a double major with communications because I thought it set me up, they complemented one another well. And I think it was a good opportunity for the future career path that I would like to take as well.
Awesome. Our next question is, what has been your favorite class throughout your time at MSU? Devin, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I would say that my favorite class has been Philosophy of Law, PHL 354. And when I took it, I was strongly advised by my advisor and friends to not take it because it was it was a tougher course, and it was also mainly juniors and seniors who had taken it, and I was a freshman at the time. It was hard. It was lots of reading. It was tough. I mean, I even had seniors asking me how I was surviving in the class. But long story short, I ended up doing very well in it, surprisingly. And it also just kind of, I would just say, broke me into the rigor that college takes, especially someone who's interested in law school, perhaps. So it was a class that was tough, but it also taught me how to think, which is also very important. So that's what I would say. I'll pass it on to Aaliyah.
Okay, so is it cheating if I say my study abroad classes? Because I did an internship last summer in Sydney, Australia for 8 weeks, and I was working in digital marketing for 3M. And then I also did another study abroad, a week-long service learning trip to Belize, where I volunteered in classrooms and got to work with kids. And so those are definitely my favorite classes because I was elsewhere in the world, but still representing and upholding those same MSU and Spartan values. So it was definitely a great opportunity and experience to represent MSU across the globe. And even when I was 10,000 miles away in Australia, I still saw and heard some people say go green, and I was like, go white. So the Spartan network is expansive, and those are definitely my favorite courses. And I will pass it on to Carly.
Yeah, my favorite course that I took was actually in my freshman year. I took a creative nonfiction course with Professor Cindy Hunter Morgan. And the course really introduced me to an aspect of creative writing that I had never experienced before. Because in all of the English classes that I had been a part of before that, they were all focused on a lot of analytical writing. So this was both challenging and interesting to me. And it kind of developed like a passion for a creative side. And my professor was also phenomenal, and she really gave me the confidence that I needed to continue to be successful in my major and in my classes. I attended her office hours a lot, and I think that class made me realize the importance of like building relationships with your professors. And I think that learning that has made my time here at MSU so much more valuable, and I've gotten so much more out of my classes because I was able to do that. Yeah, and I would like to pass it on to Abby.
So I couldn't really pick an exact class, but global studies classes for my minor are my favorite by far. All the classes I've taken so far in global studies have been smaller classes that are really like discussion based and group work based. It's a lot of reading, but it's stuff that I would never personally pick for myself. And a lot of the books we read in class are storylines, not just like encyclopedia type of readings. They're like are about other places in the world, conflicts in other places in the world, as well as different times. Things I never knew about, and I would never have known anything about what happened in the past or what's going on now. Even something pretty close to me at home, like I wouldn't know what was going on as much without these courses. It's really opened my eyes to a lot of different things, different themes. And I don't know, I just really think that it was good for me to take a bunch of global studies courses and broaden my perspective on everything. So I'm going to open it back up to Jordyn for the next question.
All right, the next one is, what has your experience been like moving to virtual classes? Aaliyah, if you'd like to start us off with this one.
So my experience has actually been not as bad as I was maybe anticipating. So I definitely am a social person. One of my favorite parts about going to class is getting to interact socially with my peers. And so that's something that is lacking, but we still have found it in other ways. But all in all, I feel like my sort of schedule for online courses has actually been a lot easier for me than in-person classes, just the way this semester has worked out and the way my class schedule works out. So I'm finding myself having more time to complete my work and stay on top of things, which is very helpful. But I am also lacking and missing that like face-to-face, being able to like talk with my peers next to me and things like that. So that's pretty much been the biggest transition for me, I'd say. And so I will pass it on to Carly.
Yeah, so transitioning to virtual classes at first last spring was I would say it was extremely difficult, and it was kind of came as a shock because it happened so quickly. But this semester it has been a little bit easier to ease into it. I have to say I do really, really miss in-person classes. Echoing what Aaliyah said, it is extremely hard to go from seeing your classmates every day and having those relationships that you develop with your professors and your peers, because it's definitely harder to do that over Zoom. I feel like a lot of times in some classes, people might have their cameras off, or there's just not as much interaction because sometimes it can come off as a little bit more awkward. But overall, I do find myself, like Leah said too, having more time on my hands, which has been nice. I've been able to spend more time with my roommates and form new hobbies that I didn't have time for last year, which is nice. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience. It's definitely something that I never thought would happen, but I have just been taking it day by day, as I know a lot of my peers have as well. So I would like to pass it off to Abby.
So in the spring, I thought it was a little bit difficult just because like Carly said, I was shocked, but I kind of thought that most of my professors did a really good job. More of the lecture-based classes, they would just film videos and send it out to you at the beginning of the week. This is not my favorite way of teaching, but I know it has to be done just because it is hard to be sitting at home and watching like a 2-hour lecture video. And then the discussion-based classes, we still try to do Zoom, and it was still a rocky period on everyone learning how to use Zoom, how to use polls, how to use different ways to like make it work, use a whiteboard in the classroom over Zoom. That was difficult. And I think it was a rough transition, but I think it ended up going pretty well. And all the professors were very easygoing about how no one knew what was going on. So I thought that they would be extremely generous with how the classroom was going to be run and how assignments were going to be turned in. The fall, I think everyone was a lot more prepared, and it's been going pretty well. I do enjoy my classes that are Zoom based, where you can pop on and actually like interact with others way more than lectured still. But I think that MSU and the College of Arts and Letters did pretty well with the transition and worked with what we had. So I'm going to pass it to Devin to finish this question.
Yeah, to kind of just contradict everything that you guys said, I really feel the opposite. Logically, it makes sense. You would think that, if you are expecting to be in a virtual university, for this semester, that it would be easier. However, I feel like it was easier my last semester, and that could just be a testament to my professors. Like Abby said, I really feel like our professors, or I'm just speaking for myself, did a good job at preparing us, even though it was at the drop of a dime when they had to change everything. And I just feel like maybe because this is going to be a longer period, that was we were halfway through the semester at that point. We're going the entire semester this way. But I would just say the hardest thing during this transition has been just balancing so many things online. Assignments are due constantly, and sometimes things don't show up on the board in your D2L. Sometimes you have to go searching for them and really just kind of go searching in your syllabus to stay on top of things. So in my opinion, I think that it is a little bit more hard this semester because it's a longer period, and because we probably will be like this next semester also. So it's a mind thing, I would say. I'll bring it back to Jordyn.
Thank you, guys. Our next question is, what do you miss most about being on campus? Carly, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I miss a lot of things about being on campus. Even I did take a walk on campus a couple of days ago because I'm living right off campus across the street. And I was just thinking about how much I even just miss simply like walking to class every day. But some things that I do miss a lot are definitely like the atmosphere in the fall when you get back and there's football games and tailgating and everything like that was just so fun to enjoy. So it was kind of hard like not having that, because now when I do walk on campus, it just feels a little eerie and empty, which is definitely a big transition to life pre-COVID. But yeah, I definitely miss MSU sports, MSU football, and I just miss seeing people. I think I just mostly miss being around other people and being able to have in-person conversations. But yeah, I will pass it along to Abby.
So I'm the exact same way. The fall is my favorite type of year. I love football season. I think I visited Michigan State in high school in the fall. And something that sold me was like, just like how pretty, especially North Campus was with all the changing like colors of the leaves and the river and everything, Red Cedar. It was just so nice. So I miss the fall, and I miss, just like walking to class. Like Carly said, I like a routine. So being able to know I have to wake up, but to get to my 9:10 class, I need to leave 30 minutes early. So it was just that little extra 30 minutes outside, walking around, like a little bit of exercise, a little bit of routine to get outside in the fresh air. And now I could actually wake up, work from home, go to all my classes from home, and not leave my bedroom if I really I don't need to. So it was just like a nice balance, I guess, to just break up parts of my day to be on campus and just see people. And also, right now during COVID, you are the people that you're with or the people that you live with, and so you are already friends with them. And so it kind of, especially for freshmen, I feel really badly for them. It's kind of taking away a huge part of making friends, because you're extremely encouraged to hang out with people that you've been spending time with. And so you can't really make friends during COVID right now. So I'm kind of missing that part too. I'm going to pass it to Devin.
Yeah, I would say definitely friends, having a normal social life, because I'm back home personally. So and also like the structure. I like the structure of having your day planning. You're going place to place and you know exactly what time and everything like that. Not to say that that can't be implemented here on online, but it's harder to break away from the routine when you have a place to go. And personally, I think I learn better from instruction and lecture and things like that better than having it online. So that's what I would say. I'll pass on to Aaliyah.
So I actually am on campus currently. I work as a student success mentor, so I virtually mentor our first year students, and it has been quite a transition. It is like people have said, it's quieter, which I kind of enjoy in the morning, not gonna lie. But I do really miss like the hustle and bustle of like walking to class and all of that. And I'm actually looking forward to a time when we're able to do all of that. And I hope everyone sort of has a different heart towards it, because I know like I used to wake up sometimes for like an early class and always people be around me. And I'm like, oh, there's some people around me. Like I'm so just like, oh, but like now, like I definitely could see myself being like, oh my gosh, there's people around me. Like, you know, and just like really changing your sort of perspective on things. So I'm looking forward to hopefully that being implemented again soon. But yeah, it's definitely been quite the transition. I'm thankful that I'm on campus for my one of two last semesters here. But yeah, it has been different. And I'll pass it back to Jordyn for our next question.
All right, our next question is, what is your favorite place on campus and why? Abby, why don't you start us off?
I liked anywhere by the Red Cedar. I feel like Wells Hall was like the hub of campus at times, just because for freshman year I had every class in Wells, and I don't think many people can graduate Michigan State without having a class in Wells. So it just always seemed packed. There was a coffee shop there. There was always lines out the door to go there. And I just feel like Wells Hall by the Red Cedar is just like the hub of where everyone always seemed to be around like 10:20. And just that little morning walk, like over across the bridge, looking at the football field is like, I'd say my little zone of happiness at Michigan State. Go, Devin.
Yeah, I much like Abby, I do miss that, but I also miss the College of Law, which is strange. But I used to work in there also. So because I worked there, after work, I would just start studying there and do homework there also. And just the smell of the books, that sounds weird, but the smell of the books and the little whisper, I do miss that a lot. But hopefully we'll be back there soon.
So I have a difficult time picking favorites of anything, but I really do enjoy the Union and just like that area in North neighborhood with like Beaumont Tower. It's very just beautiful and like relaxing to me. And I always say I love just like spending like a Saturday or Sunday like in the Union and like getting my Big B coffee, getting some food from the food court or Sparty's, and just like going into one of the study rooms in the basement and just like working and being productive. I love the feeling of productivity. And I also think the Union has this like specific smell. It smells like lotion to me, like really good lotion. So I love that smell. And I also do work out of the Union as well as a tour guide. So it also kind of just feels like home to me as well. So yeah, I definitely miss the Union in like North neighborhood. I guess I could go walk over there, but yeah, that's my favorite spot. And I'll pass on to Carly.
Wow, you guys are making me miss it so much. It's funny, Abby said Wells Hall, because that was what I was thinking in my head, is the little spot where there's the steps on the red cedar where the ducks always come. I used to like sit there, and like sometimes the ducks would actually like walk up to Wells Hall, which was funny. So I miss that because I had a ton of classes in Wells. And then also I miss North neighborhood in general. I lived in Snyder Phillips for my first 2 years, and I worked in Snyder Phillips for 4 years. So I was just there all the time. A lot of my friends lived there. We always went to the Sci-Fi Caf. So that was definitely one of my favorite places on campus, and somewhere that I really miss being and hanging out.
Awesome. Our next question is, what do you hope to do after graduation? Why don't you start us off, Devin?
That's a scary question. So I've always thought immediately after I would go to law school. But I've had a lot of experience with law students visiting law school and just getting a lot more information. And I've come to the conclusion that going right after may not be the smartest decision for me. And I'm starting to be okay with that. So taking a year to maybe work in another field that I'm interested in, which is human resources and compliance. And also just doing fun things like getting my pilot's license is something I've always wanted to do. So I'm just thinking about different things. So kind of becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable right now. But that's the plan. And so hopefully at the max 2 years after I will go to law school.
So I definitely have a similar answer to Devin. I actually decided, I think last year, that I wasn't going to go to law school, and I had set my sights on pursuing a master's in student affairs administration, just with all of my on-campus jobs, being an RA, being a tour guide, and having just those like interpersonal like communications and relationships with students is something that I really realized that I valued a lot. And so that is something that I'm still in the process of applying for and potentially pursuing. But I've also, like Devin, come to terms with being like uncomfortable and uncertain about things. And so I've also been looking into just different positions, working in higher education for different colleges and universities and things like that. So that's sort of where I think I'm headed, definitely working with students, specifically in higher ed, because I like the college sort of environment and setting. I like the age of where we're at and in our lives as college students. So that's what I hope to do, just positively impact the world around me in some form or another. So that's my plan, but I'll let Carly share hers.
So this past summer, I did a virtual internship with Kohl's, and I was a copywriter for them, which was really interesting. It was cool to see like the posts that I was writing actually go up on like their Pinterest page and their Instagram page and things like that. And 2 weeks ago, I just accepted a full-time offer with them after graduation. So that will be really exciting. I will be moving out to Milwaukee next August because their headquarters is in Milwaukee. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think it'll be an interesting career choice. If you would have told me a year ago that this is where I would be, I would have not expected it. But I was very excited to accept the offer, and I'm excited to move to Milwaukee. So yeah, and pass it on to Abby.
I really resonate with a lot that Devin said about law school, because I kind of always thought that I would go to law school and I would go right after college. I do think I need a break from school, especially thinking about online learning. Right now, it's difficult, but I can do it. But I think I would need a break to continue, especially if I think of law school being online. It's a little bit of a different story because I wouldn't be able to be as interested in every single one of my classes, because you have to take all these different types of law courses no matter what kind of law you're interested in, and I feel like that'd be really hard to grab my attention in a virtual format. So I think right now for after school, after I graduate, it's going to be really location based. I think I'm going to try to find a city that I like outside of Michigan, and try to find a job in either the a legal field or in the nonprofit sphere of some type, which is completely different end of the spectrum, but that's kind of where I'm at, and just go location based, try to move far away from home, live that life for a little bit before I make my next step of law school. So thank you. I'm going to go back to Jordyn.
Awesome. What plans do you guys have to use your education from MSU now and in the future? Aaliyah, why don't you start us off with this one?
Yeah, so I definitely think my plans for using my education at MSU is more of a holistic approach, not just necessarily my sort of degree. Like I said, my degree has granted me so many amazing skills, but I think also the experiences, like I was saying, just working with students and being that resource and getting comfortable with, leading events and just doing certain things like that all around has definitely shaped me to be who I am. And so right now, working as a student success mentor virtually and having to adapt to that experience but still be there and still empathize with our first year students as something that I'm doing currently. And sort of how I mentioned in the previous question, just definitely having a heightened, especially after this pandemic, having a heightened appreciation, understanding for students and the support that we need. And so being just an overall general advocate for that is something that I know MSU has prepared me for through, like I said, not only my degree, but also the experiences that this institution has afforded me. And so I'm looking forward to being able to work closely alongside students and sort of just have an opportunity to sort of impact students' experiences for the better, if that makes sense. So that is what I'm hoping to do. And I'll let Carly answer that.
Yeah, so it's interesting to think about how the skills that I've learned in my classes apply to kind of like a professional environment. I definitely have seen them translate in the internship that I had over the summer. It was a lot of writing and editing and making sure that things made sense. And I think that thinking critically in my English classes and as well as communications classes helped a lot to prepare me for that and kind of give me like a sense of responsibility when it comes to the work that I am doing. And also I would say beyond just skills that can be applied to like a professional environment, classes in the College of Arts and Letters, I would say, I think they have made me like a better person in general. I think a lot of them are make the students more socially aware. And I just think that like a lot of humanities-based classes should be an essential component to a well-rounded education. So I think that because I chose a major in the College of Arts and Letters, I was offered that. And I've loved being here at MSU, and I think that all of my classes have helped me in some way or another. So yeah, I'd like to pass it on to Abby.
So I like to break up my major. It's Humanities Pre-Law. So the pre-law aspect, I think, for my education, a lot of times when people go to law school, it doesn't really matter with what you graduate with for your undergrad degree, you can still go to law school. And I think would have a huge leg up just because I have had to take so many courses in that field, which I'm extremely grateful for, because I actually looked into other colleges and a lot of them don't offer any type of pre-law program. So I thought that was pretty unique and exciting. As far as humanities, like Carly said, I kind of grew up in a bubble surrounded by like same like-minded people. And it's broadened me up to all these different social issues around me, different perspectives, helped me work with all different kinds of people in group. And a lot of times in my humanities courses, it's learning about social issues in the world and that you're separated into group work. And it's just like talking and interacting with others has helped me work on what it is to be a team player. And I just think, yeah, what Carly said about being a well-rounded person, I think it's really benefited me and it's helped me become way more socially aware. So yeah, I'm gonna pass this to Devin.
The curse of going last. Everybody has said everything I agree with. But one thing I would say, like with being a humanities pre-law major, I think that most of all, like I've learned because of the law about problems. Like I think more than anything, I'm more aware of the things that are maybe wrong or that need to be changed in our world, even our country. I would just say that with the knowledge that I have now and thinking outside of myself with the humanities component of it, that I'm going to use my degree to do something that is not just about my own career pursuits or money, but also about changing wherever I end up. So acquiring the leadership of organizations minor, which is in the School of HR, would give me the opportunity to see how you can make people more comfortable and happy in their working environment, in addition to following certain rules, contracts, laws, and regulations. So kind of mixing those both up. So I would just say that using my degree will help me be more aware of my surroundings and actually contribute to my community.
Awesome. So our next question is from the chat. It kind of piggybacks off of what you guys were just talking about. It's, if you were a king or queen of the world, what would you do differently to help the United States have healthier relationships with its own people and with other people of other nations? Carly, why don't you start us off with this one?
Yeah, this is a very loaded question because there's a lot of things that I think are going on right now that are really difficult to watch happen, especially being so young and seeing all of this happen. Sorry, I'm rereading the question. I would say in the US right now, seeing what's going on, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's going on with COVID, it's really frustrating and extremely disappointing to see how our government and our country has reacted to a lot of it, especially the protests. But at the same time, I am glad to see that a lot of people have come together to kind of make this change. And I think that I really hope this momentum keeps going, because I think that we are due for change. And without it, I am not sure what is going to happen by the time we have kids or by the time like we're older. I just hope that we can get through COVID and everything that's going on to ultimately live in a better world where the people of our country feel respected and taken care of, and everyone feels as though they are equal. Because right now, I think that everything going on just demonstrates the work that we have left to do, because it's obviously not complete. I'll pass it on to Abby.
My main thing right now, I think, well, yeah, this is a loaded question. I feel like communication is something that our world lacks at times. A lot of people don't listen before speaking. A lot of people don't, and even if they do listen, they're usually thinking of what they're going to say next in response and not truly listening and taking it in. I do think that people need to start looking at things from other perspectives, seeing both sides of the story before they make a snap decision or before they make a statement. I do think that our generation gets a bad rep at times with, like, I don't know, like being on social media, but I do think our generation is actually very caring, and we are very concerned about all social issues. We kind of want to make a stop to problems that have been lasting for a long time. And I think we're kind of at the age right now that we're standing up and speaking our own minds, which I think is extremely important. So I think just being, I guess, learning as much as you can about a topic, and being open to learning if everyone else's opinions before you make your own opinion. I think a lot of times some person's thought perspective is way here, some person's thoughts are right here, and a lot of times what's really happening is what's happening in the middle. So you kind of just have to take like different media, different opinions, and kind of create what you believe based on both sides of the story. So I think that's really important. I don't really know if I answered that question. It is a very broad and difficult question to answer, but I'm going to pass it to Devin to hopefully clean up on what I just said.
Yeah, it is a difficult question, but I would say if I was in charge, there would be a huge stress on unity. And you kind of touched on that, Abby, but during a time where you would expect people to come together, we've done exactly the opposite. There are strong feelings because there are very strong effects from what's happening right now. And people are, more concerned about themselves than the whole of our country. And that just goes to say something about the problem that we have. And the problem is that we very rarely act in the interests of our community, but more so about ourselves. And that's just being exploited right now. So I think there should be a huge stress on, doing what's good for everybody in the end, is what I would say, to just sum it up. I guess I answered it quicker than I thought, so I'll pass it on to Aaliyah.
Yes, I definitely second everything that my peers have stated. But one thing that was definitely a theme of Abby's response was this notion of compromise. I feel like that is something that's very much lacking right now in our country and in our world. And I obviously know that there are certain things that we are just unable to compromise on, but I think there are things that we could potentially consider meeting in the middle on, and hearing both sides and perspectives before sort of formulating our own opinion. I'm very much a person who sees value in both sides of things, and value in both arguments of things. And so I try to find a common middle ground. And like Devin was saying, with unity and unifying people on our similarities, and then working on our differences as we come together. And so that's something that I think we could definitely benefit from having unbiased media, if that makes sense. I feel like Devin was saying, you have to watch one channel to get one side of thing and another channel to get another side of thing, and that is really the root of a lot of the issues that we're having right now. And so I would love to see just a place where people know they can get factual and unbiased information, because there's a lot of lies being spread around right now on both sides. And so I think truth and compromise would be very, very helpful right now. And I'll pass it back to Jordyn.
Good answers. Our next question is, how do you see the world changing in the job market with the increase in working from home? Abby, why don't you start us off with this one?
I think there's a lot of little things that we don't notice when we're in our everyday lives. And now that we're working from home, it's kind of going to have an effect to it. If big corporations aren't having employees in like offices, they obviously don't have to pay for the electricity, they don't have to pay for the plumbing. So things are going to be more cost efficient in some ways, less of a carbon footprint in some ways. It's also probably going to affect the economy in a bad way, such as if on your way to your office, you always hit your local coffee spot, and then you meet your family after dinner right by the restaurant, right by your office. Now there's just like little strange tiny things that you would think wouldn't affect, that you wouldn't think of when you're just going to your everyday office and job. But I think that's going to have a major impact just on smaller businesses. I do think environmentally it could be better, but socially, I think it is hitting us pretty hard. I know that a lot of offices try to keep everyone together and like weekly meetings. And I know some offices do happy hours with their groups and everything, try to keep everyone not only just like working together, but like having those friendships, because I think that's important in an office space, is to have friendships. But just you walking from your office to get food or going out to lunch with friends, like all these little tiny interactions throughout the day are no longer happening. So I think it's going to take a toll on like the camaraderie of the workplace, as well as like mental health that could affect it, just because socially you're just so isolated. So I'm going to pass to Devin to talk about what he thinks.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Abby. I mean, and another thing is, I think there's also going to be kind of a transformation in how people value your work. I think like you're going to be held extremely more accountable than you were if you were sitting in an office at a desk. So presumably people like us will be desk people in some capacity. So what you're doing is really important because they just want to see what is the product of you being there. And then people who are managing I think are going to be a lot more critical about salaries, positions, perks, and things like that, because people are at home. And so touching on that social aspect that Abby was talking about, a lot of that is going to be taken away. So a lot of perks and things that kind of make a company what it is, or an organization what it is, will be taken away. And it's just going to be extremely production based, I think. And I kind of feel that already, just working from home with the jobs that I have, that it's really about what can you do for me? And that's it, So we'll see. I'll pass it on to Carly.
Yeah, going off of what Devin said, I kind of feel the same way. It is very interesting to see how things are changing with everything being virtual. Personally, like for this summer, when I did my internship, I was originally supposed to move to Milwaukee and live in a dorm building with a bunch of other interns. But with it being virtual, I didn't have the opportunity to meet. I only became friends with 2 other interns because it was virtual, and it's so hard to make friends over Zoom. And the whole time, every time I would meet with my team, it would always just be the same conversation of, oh my God, I wish we could all meet in person. But also going off of what Devin said with the idea of everything being production based, I do feel like that as well, because sometimes you feel almost like stuck. But yeah, I think also with working from home, a hard, challenging part that I have found is the connect between work life and like home life or social life, because work is always at your fingertips because it is on your laptop. So it's kind of hard to find the disconnect between the two and where one stops and another starts. That was just how I personally felt working from home through this whole summer. I'll pass it on to Aaliyah.
Okay, Jordyn, can you repeat the question? Because I thought I had an answer and I'm realizing I think my answer is changing.
Yes, it's how do you see the world changing in the job market with all the increases in working from home?
Okay, so I definitely think on a more positive note, that there's going to be increased flexibility in terms of just our capabilities. I've seen people, or not capabilities, but the way we can work. I've seen people say, now that we've realized in this global pandemic that a lot of the jobs that were in person actually do have the flexibility of being remote because they were still working. I'm hopeful that, once all this passes and that we still see this sort of work from home sort of option when you need it, because I think it can be beneficial when you do need to stay at home for whatever your circumstances may be. But again, still having that in-person social connection with your coworkers and colleagues. So I definitely think I would like to see, and hopefully there can be some increased flexibility, especially given certain positions in which you could sort of maybe have some wiggle room to stay at home some days, go to the office other days. And I definitely like to see that.
Thank you. Our next question that just came in the Q&A was, would you move to a new city for a job if you were only working remotely? Devin, would you like to start us off with this one?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say sorry for throwing off the kink there. Sorry that you guys fixed it though. But yeah, that's a good question. I would say it all depends on the situation. It depends on if you really know if it's worth it or not. Working remotely, I don't know. I mean, I just really believe it's all based on, what opportunities are coming from doing that. If that job will lead to other good things and opportunities, or even just teaching you more than you would have if you didn't take the job, it might be the best decision. And also just understanding that at this age, although we should make intentional moves, there's nothing wrong with stepping out, and doing something a little crazy sometimes. Even though it may seem like, well, why would I do that just for that? But it's a new experience. It teaches you something. You have to realize, do I really have anything to lose from this? And a lot of times the answer is really no. So yeah, that's what I would say.
So I, like Devin, also think very like circumstantially, but just long story short, I would say yes. I'm a very adventurous person. I've lived in Michigan my entire life, and I would love to live elsewhere, even if it's just for a little bit. I definitely think it would actually be cool to sort of, even though you're working from home, the time spent outside of work you can spend exploring and getting to do things. So I think that would be, that's exciting. I definitely am looking for jobs across the country and seeing, and currently, even if they are remote. So I would have to say yes, because I would love to live somewhere else besides Michigan. I love Michigan, nothing wrong with it. But I would love to see what lies beyond this mitten state. So I will pass that to Carly.
Yeah, going off of what Aaliyah said, I am also very much itching to get out of Michigan. So even if I were working remotely, I would say 100% yes, I would like to move, because my plan originally was to find a job out of state. So yeah, I would love to move, and I'm excited to move to Milwaukee, which will be fun. But yeah, I think that I do like to make a new change in my life. And much like Aaliyah, I've also lived in Michigan my whole life. So, and I haven't traveled a lot. So I don't really know a lot that's outside of Michigan or what different cities have to offer. So I'm excited to explore a new city and get to know some new people. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting experience. All right, I'll pass it on to Abby.
I think I would try to move out of state into a city for a job, but it would also depend on, I'd probably try to move out of state and be close to family that I have out of state, or go where a couple of friends are also looking at, just because if I am working remotely and I move to a different city, it would be very hard to meet new people and make new friends. And even if you do have like work friends, they also could be working remotely. So I just think it'd be easy. I think it would really matter, like roommates would have to, if I were living remotely, like roommate would really matter, because you'd be spending all your time in an apartment or a house or whatever. So I think the people, if the opportunity was amazing, I would probably consider going out on my own and living wherever it required me to live. But if it is for sure remotely and in a different city that I didn't know anyone, I would probably try to find a friend to come move in with me. It'd be a little hard to do that by myself. Back to Jordyn.
Yes. Our next question from the Q&A is, what are you looking forward to most post-quarantine, or once the virus is under control or there is a vaccine? Why don't you start us off, Aaliyah?
Yes. So I definitely, like I mentioned earlier, am looking forward to people just being more grateful for our moments and our experiences with one another. Kind of how I was saying, like, I'm excited for the day that when there are a lot of people back on campus and there is like the hustle and bustle, I hope that we take a moment to say, gee, I really took this for granted when it was here, and just really be more intentional about our interactions, and just really finding gratitude in the small moments and little things that we took for granted beforehand, and also international travel. That's another thing that I'm really looking forward to. I have started a sort of thing where I want to go out of the country, like to a new country at least once per year, and I'm on the right track the past 3 years or 4 years, but yeah, if we can't get this under control, I can't leave the country next year. So we will see, but I'll let Carly go next.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I'm excited for is just like to have a sense of spontaneity back, because like we used to just be able to kind of just go do things like when we felt like it, or like just like going out, or and also I can't lie, like hypothetically, let's just say everything is safe, like during a time when it is normal again. I think it'll be really exciting to go back to like the first party ever that you go back to after COVID, which would be a really interesting experience. But yeah, I really just miss being able to hang out with all of my friends that are up here in East Lansing, because as of right now, we've kind of been just like FaceTiming, and we've been on Zoom a lot, but we haven't had any really opportunities to be able to interact face to face. So yeah, I just miss I will be excited to be able to just hang out with whoever without having that underlying anxiety due to COVID. All right, pass it on to Abby.
I'm definitely interested to see how the virus has impacted everyone. Like Aaliyah was saying about how everyone would be more grateful. I'm excited to see past it for many reasons, but also I just want to see how everyone's like perspective changed on things. I feel like it forced everyone to get back to more family roots, and like everyone really was grateful for the conversations they were having, even if they were over Zoom, just because any interaction was exciting, like right at the beginning of quarantine. Overall, definitely international travel. I was supposed to study abroad in Greece last summer with my cousin, so I haven't really been that anywhere. So I really, really want to do something like that after I graduate. Would be amazing. But if not, I would definitely set aside some time to do something like that, because I think it's important. I'm excited for it. And also just concerts. I love outside concerts. I just love going to concerts, and I miss that. And it's insane to me that, like, I think my first concert I go to after everything's over, I'll just be amazed that there's so many people in one room without masks on, like enjoying themselves. I think it would be pretty surreal. So yeah, I'm gonna let Devin finish us out.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. Just have fun. I mean, this really just made me realize that I haven't been having as much fun as I should have been having for these past, I guess, three and a half years. Like Carly also touched on, just the spontaneity is also an essential part of life. You know, you shouldn't have to plan out everything and stand 6 feet from somebody and all this stuff. That kind of brings down the moment, but it's necessary right now. So I just hope once things change, I will actually, you know, put everything I want to do into action. So that's about it.
All right, thank you. Our next question is, who is your favorite arts and letters professor? Carly, why don't you start us off?
Ooh, this is a good question. I'm trying to think. One of my favorite professors that I've had in Cal is definitely Professor Stephen Rockman. He taught a really small class that I had. There was only 10 of us, and he was super engaging, and he always facilitated great discussions with us, and it made the class feel a little less formal and more like, because we would all sit at like a table together. And then also every Thursday he would bring in baked goods. So that is definitely my favorite Cal professor.
My favorite professor, I think, would be the professor I have now, Johanna Schuster Craig. She knows how to facilitate conversation. I'm in a 6-person all-girl class with her, and it's really fun. It breaks up. It also could be because it's my only synchronous class, so it kind of just breaks up like the monotone, but I really enjoy her class. I just think she teaches well. She gives good insight, always open to differing opinions, and just think she's a good person. So I would definitely say her. Devin?
Yeah, this is a really hard question. We have a lot of great professors, but one person who sticks with me, like a professor that was very passionate about what she was teaching. I had an IAH with Professor Rohrbeck, and she was amazing. So that's what I would say.
I would have to say Professor Juan Mayfield. So he teaches out of the Department of African American and African Studies, and I had him my last fall, and I have him currently again this fall, and I just genuinely enjoy his teaching style. He's very much understanding, especially now during COVID and everything, but even prior, he really took into consideration student feelings, and we would start classes oftentimes just everyone going around and sharing how their week is going or how their lives are going. And I think that's something that's very important, but but he's, like I said, he's also just very understanding, and he genuinely wants to ensure that you're gaining the knowledge that you need and not necessarily just drilling these things in your mind to remember for a test and then move on. Like, he wants you to understand his content and his material, and because of that, there's less pressure that comes along with it, because it's genuinely a discussion and just forming overall knowledge. And I really appreciate his teaching style, and I'm very glad to have him as professor again this semester. Jordyn, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Okay, we'll now be on our last question. How many Spartans are in your family and group of family friends? Did they influence your choice for MSU? And if so, how so? Why don't we start with Abby?
My mom and my grandma actually are Spartans. I grew up a diehard Michigan fan because my whole dad's side of the family went to Michigan. They kind of left it up to me. I definitely knew I wanted to stay closer to home because I am a homebody, but I think just like hearing the stories that my mom had about her college experience and my grandma and them going on campus with me, and my mom would be able to be like, this is where I remember every single Sunday morning, like I would talk about the weekend with my friends, and my sister and I, we would go on a walk. My aunt's also Michigan State. And now I have like 4 cousins at Michigan State with me. They're all younger, so they're kind of following me. I was the first one in my family to go to state, cousin-wise, and now I have 5 behind me, which is kind of fun. So I have a whole family Spartans now. They're in East Lansing, which keeps it fun. We kind of try to do family dinners, so keeps it home away from home base. And I think my parents are pretty open with wherever I wanted to go. It was my decision, but I like the family feel of East Lansing. Definitely. So I'm going to pass it to Devin.
Yeah, I would definitely. Well, first of all, I'm a first generation college student. So my parents were just pretty happy that I was going to any college, I would say. But I think between what I was choosing, they definitely rooted for MSU more than the others. MSU offers something more than just academics. There is a true sense of belonging at MSU. And a unity that you won't find anywhere else. So I'm very happy about my decision.
So I'm actually the first Spartan in my family. My parents received their educations elsewhere. And this, similar to Abby, I grew up a Michigan fan. So I have quite a few cousins who've played Michigan football, and definitely grew up that's kind of what I knew. But then when it really came to my sort of college decision, there was something about MSU, like Devin was saying, that I genuinely couldn't shake. It was all like my best friend's mom was a Spartan, and just knowing people who were MSU, like who were alums, like they just were absolutely just in love with Michigan State, like never before. Like no other college have I ever seen the alumni just so die hard for MSU, and that's something that really spoke to me. And something that kind of really solidified it was when my mom has a coworker who's also a friend who graduated from MSU nursing program. And when I said I was going to go to MSU, she sent me this giant basket full of like MSU t-shirt, MSU water bottle, MSU earrings, MSU candy bar, MSU car decal, like MSU everything just in this bucket. And I was like, this lady is really excited that I want to go to MSU. And but it's genuinely, that is the type of energy that all Spartans just have globally. Like I said, even when I was in Australia, I saw people wearing MSU, and every time I go to the airport, I intentionally wear something MSU just to spark conversation. And it's genuinely just like I said, it's a feeling that you just really can't get elsewhere. And so it's exciting and nerve-wracking to think that I'll be joining that network of alumni pretty soon. But I definitely, like I said, I'm just so couldn't be happy with my decision to attend Michigan State. And I know that this is exactly where I was meant to go. So I'll let Carly finish us off.
Yeah, I can just echo. I'm also a first gen student. So no one in my family had gone to MSU. I had a few friends that I was graduating with from high school that were coming here. And I ended up living with one of my good friends from high school my freshman year, which was really fun. But yeah, definitely, I am so glad I chose MSU. I was between a really small liberal arts college and MSU, and I couldn't be more happy that I picked a big school. I think it is so cool to have so many opportunities at MSU. and there's just so many different clubs and so many different activities, and there's so many people to meet, and that definitely has been awesome for me. And I love everything that I've been a part of here. I've loved so much, and I wouldn't change the experience at all. I've met some of my best friends here, and I just think that, yeah, thanks MSU, I have had some of the best years, I hope, of my life. But yeah, back to you, Jordyn.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Carly, Abby, Devin, and Aaliyah. I have been keeping an eye on the time, and I would like to wrap up our discussion. I would like to say thank you to our attendees and all of you for sharing your experiences. It means a lot that our alumni and donors care so much about the college and students like us. As a reminder, this recording will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days if you'd like to share with those who could not be here this afternoon. I would also like to note that we will continue to be offering these conversations throughout the fall, so keep your eyes out for email communications from us. Again, thank you to everyone for participating. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week, and go green.
Go White.
Go White.